Hello there my fishy friends, my name is Peter, and in today's video I'm going to talk about opening day on the Vedder River for 2023, and I'm also going to give you my predictions for what to expect for the upcoming salmon season right through till Christmas. So first, let's talk about opening day. The river is looking absolutely perfect. Usually on opening day, Canada Day, the water's still really high. It's kind of the tail end of the freshet, and things are really still quite difficult to fish. This year it is absolutely perfect. The water level's great, the clarity's great, and yeah, it really couldn't be any better. On Saturday, weather's going to be about 23, which is amazing for having a great day out fishing, so I hope to see you out there. Everybody who hasn't fished this river for a long time wants to know, well, are there Chinooks to be caught on opening day? Well, absolutely. We have a few red Chinooks that are in the river right now, but realistically there are just a few. Any salmon run, you can have a few early fish, and then you're going to have the bulk of the run, and you're always going to have a few late fish. The peak of this run of summertime Chinooks really is the end of July. That's when you see the most fish in the river, when you see the most fish arriving. Right now they're in there, but I would say the whole river, you're looking at dozens of fish, not hundreds. So good luck. If you catch one, let me know. I personally, in 9 years of fishing this river, I've never seen one caught opening day. I'm sure it happens, I just haven't witnessed it. So good luck out there. Now let's go into the season as a whole. So let's start with the bad news. All right, a lot of people have their hopes up for pinks this year. It is a pink year. Pinks are a blast of fun, especially for beginner anglers. You know, they're easy to catch, there's lots of them. But 2 years ago we had these massive floods on the Vedder River. The pinks are on a 2-year cycle. That's why they're so little. They only spend 2 years growing to the size they are, which really I find that quite amazing, to get these 5-6 pound fish that are only 2 years old. But anyway, the whole river got rearranged. All the eggs that those fish were laying were completely obliterated, so I would not expect a very big return of pinks on the Vedder. The DFO that regulates these things, they base their numbers on what's in the ocean and what's coming up the Fraser, and they may very well open the Vedder. I think, you know, there's a chance, but I really think very few of those pinks are going to make that turn into the Vedder River, and I myself am not planning on retaining any of them regardless of what the DFO says, because they really were very hard hit, and we want to protect this fishery for decades and centuries to come, not just this year. So that's the bad news. Pinks pretty much wiped out 2 years ago, and here's the consequences. The good news, well, 5 years ago the Vedder River hatchery, or the Chilliwack River hatchery, whatever you want to call it, doubled the production of Chinook salmon from, like, okay, I don't know all the numbers exactly. I think for the summertime Chinooks they doubled it, and for the fall Chinooks they doubled it. So for the fall Chinooks we have like something like 2.5 times as many fish being produced as there used to be, and that has resulted in just a massive run of Chinooks. Last year was the sort of first year of that return. So last year was 4 years after they doubled production, and man, the Chinooks were amazing. The summer Chinooks, we typically used to get between 1,000 and 2,000 fish returning. Last year it was closer to 5,000, maybe even 6. Like, I know a lot were caught, and I filmed them up at the hatchery and they were just stacked up there. Like, a lot of them made it past all the fishing pressure, so that's the good news. Fall Chinooks, same thing. Like, in a typical fall salmon season I might catch maybe 30 Chinooks. Last year I caught somewhere around 100. Like, it was crazy. I was trying to avoid them. I was honestly like, I want a coho, I don't want to battle a Chinook, and I just kept hooking them. And well, you know, lots of people do way better. It doesn't take much to get up to 100 fish, but wow, they started early, they ran heavy, they ran late, you name it. So, you know, forget the pinks, but we can look forward to an awesome Chinook season. The other thing I wanted to mention is the big fish. So last year we saw a few big fish. It was the first time in a long time where I caught fish that were solid 30 plus pounds. It's very rare. Lots of people catch these 20-pound fish and they call them 30 pounds, but really to see a 30-pound Chinook in the Vedder is a rare thing. Last year was the first time in many years that's happened for me. And this year we should see even more big fish, because those 30-plus fish are the fish that were out in the ocean for 4 years instead of 3. So they're really 5-year-old fish that are returning to the river instead of regular 4-year-old fish. So those big brutes, we should see more of them this year as well. And trust me, I've been snorkeling this river for 9 years now, and I see how many big fish there are, and those 30 plus fish are really quite rare. We're talking like 1 in 500 maybe hits that mark, maybe even more, like maybe 1 in 1,000 that really are the big tai size. So if you catch one, count yourself lucky, and be nice to that fish if you're not going to keep it. We need those big fish genetics. So I think that's got the Chinooks covered. Let's talk about coho. Well, I don't have a crystal ball. The coho, the wild coho that were in the river during the flood, so those smolts, coho actually stick around in the river for a long time, a full year, and then they head out to the ocean. So the coho that were in the river during the floods were also heavily impacted, but our hatchery return was not impacted by the floods at all. So my prediction for this coming season is we're going to see a little bit of a drop off in wild fish returning, especially wild jacks. But we're going to see the same numbers roughly as we did last year. So the freshet was super early this year. It's been another hot, dry year. And I worry a little bit that we're going to face the same thing as last year, which is low, clear water. And those are difficult conditions for coho fishing, because those fish are very shy, very easy to spook. And when they can see out of the water and they can see all those people lined up along the banks, they just stop biting. They just sit there and they don't touch anything. So the low, clear water can be very challenging for coho. And that's all I got to say about that. It took me a while to adapt and overcome, because it takes some figuring out how to catch them in that water. So bottom line is, this year and next year, I think we're going to see the wild stocks impacted a bit by the floods, and the hatchery return should be about the same. Our ocean conditions have been good. There have been extensive closures in the ocean for retention of salmon generally. So, and you know, there's been just an overall drop off in commercial fishing. Say what you want. Even up in Alaska, they're closing down some of these fisheries because, well, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but our coho spend their lives out in the open ocean, out in the North Pacific, and when they round the tip of British Columbia there next to Alaska, a lot of them get intercepted, even though it's, yeah, whatever. It's a Pacific Salmon Treaty, and that is none of my concern. I think that pretty much covers it, my predictions. I haven't talked about chum, and that's because chum are like, yeah, you might as well roll some dice. There's no point in making predictions about chum. They've been all over the map. Some years are heavy, some years are light. Who knows? I think part of the problem really is ocean ranching. So chum specifically have been heavily released by hatcheries all around the Pacific Rim. So not so much in Canada, but up in Alaska, Russia, and Japan, they have these hatcheries that just pump out tons and tons, like billions, literally billions of chum salmon, because they're easy and cheap to rear, and they come back and they're big and there's lots of meat on them. So all that competition in that particular ecological niche doesn't mean great things for our chum salmon. Neither does the netting and the Fraser, but again, those are things that are beyond my scope. So I hope you enjoyed this talk. Thank you very much for watching, and see you out on the river. Thanks for watching.